と見ましたけど。
Okay, sorry for late today. We're going to start Saturday morning session. This morning we're going to discuss about Japanese or Japan-Africa policy. And this is second time for our presentation. And today's first video, TCAT. So what is TCAT? TCAT. アフリカ開発会議、東京インターナショナルカンファレンスのアフリカンデベロップメントですね。日本が主催しているアフリカの開発をテーマとする国際会議です。第1回アフリカ会議はですね、1993年に開催されて、以後、第6回をですね、2016年に開催して、ケニアのナイロビで開催した。で、この第6回がですね、初めてアフリカの会議で、開催改革も、間隔もですね、5年ごとから3年ごとに短縮される。で、会議にはなんとアフリカのね、53カ国、ほとんど全てですね、確か54カ国ありましたけど、関係する政府、地域機関、民間セクターなど、11000名ですね、参加した。安倍総理は共同議長として参加して、ナイロビ宣言を採択した。まあ、そういうことですね。で、医療保健体制の強化、テロ対策ということで、中国政府はこの会議に批判している。で、これはですね、私がかねてから言っている、日本政府がですね、中国政府に対抗して、アフリカを開発しようということだと思うんですけれども。で、私が絶えず提言しているのは、日本がですね、中国に対抗してですね、いろいろやったところで、所詮、ハードウェアでは勝てない。で、日本が唯一勝てる可能性があるのは、ソフトウェアという意味で、ソフトウェアはどういうことかというと、アフリカのいわゆる地域戦略に対して、日本が、どうやってプランニングを立てるかということは、十分に貢献できるというふうに我々考えているんですね。で、どうしてそうかと言いますとですね、理由はですね、日本がですね、欧米、中国と違って、打算がないんですね。で、打算がないということは、物事に対して、日本はですね、利益を追求したりですね、何か見返りを設けたりと、そういうことをしない。そういう意味でですね、日本が貢献できるだろう。ただ、問題はですね、日本という国をですね、このアフリカの54カ国、多分こう出てきて、日本のことについて、いろいろな話を聞いたのでしょうけど、日本のことを多分知らない。で、2泊3日ぐらいでは、全然そういうことを理解できないというのが実態だと思うんですね。それがやっぱり日本の問題だというようなことをかねてから言っています。で、我々はですね、やっぱり日本というのはどういう国なのか、何を彼らに貢献できるのかということをですね、きちんとこれから説明できるようなことをやる必要があるというのは私の考えですね。これはもちろん私今年本を、日本とは何かという本をですね、英語と日本語で書こうと思ってますけども、そういう意図があります。で、とにもなおさずこういうふうなTCATをやったわけですが、それに対してですね、日本側がですね、どういうふうなことを説明したのかということをですね、今日話をしようと。最初にですね。で、これは非常に大きな、ディスカッションのテーマなんですけれども、この講義、英語で言うと、a discussion of challenges facing Japan's policy of peace building in Africa through economic development ということなんですけれども、この講演はね、極めて冗長なんですね。で、日本人のビデオが極めて少ないともかねてから言ってますけれども、ある意味では今回私が4月からね、Unnoニュースネットワークを開催しますけど、これ海外に情報を発信していこうということですけども、そういう意味で、ないんですね。しょうがないから仕方なく取り上げたんですけど、見方によっては、世界の方々が日本の少ない中でこういうのをみんな見てるということをですね、我々は肝に銘じていかなければいけないと思っています。で、発表者は日本人ですけど、実は中身見ていただくとわかりますけど、アフリカのことを何も知らないんですね。外務省の人か JICA の人かわかりませんけども、相当不勉強ですね。で、経済活動を通じて経済開発を通じて平和活動を推進するということで、日本政府のアフリカへの貢献は、経済活動を通じての品質向上、貧困の消滅であるという、馬鹿なこと言ってんですね。 になぜかって貧困の消滅っていうことはですね、これは誰もが言ってるっていうか、品質の向上とか貧困撲滅っていうのはですね、もう、なんていうか、決まり、上等文句で、もう今、全く意味をなさないですね。貧困をなくすために経済発展するって、あなたそんなこと言ってもさ、南スーダンもそうですけど、自衛隊が何をしたんだっていうことですよね。で、内乱で民族対立があって、もしくはアルシャバブとかですね、ボコハラムとかってカップしてる中でですね、AK37 ですか、機関銃をみんな持ってですね、やってる中でですね、男は兵士、女は売春婦みたいな地域に行って、経済開発ということをですね、それが、なんていうかな、直裁的にそれがいいというふうに思っているところがですね、朝がですね、そんなことするよりも彼らは、生きていくことが精一杯なんですね。で、しかもその中でですね、経済開発するにしたってもう、要するに、数多くの国はもう本当にぐちゃぐちゃになったまんまなんですね。で、そういうふうなことをやっぱり我々もっと認識する必要あるし、もっと勉強する必要ある。でスーダンの自衛隊はですね、道路をはじめその他インフラを建設してきましたね。ただ、これは彼らが何度も言ってますようにですね、彼らは、ただ、私が一昨年日本に帰ったんですけども、それは日本の、もともと予定が完了して帰ったわけですが、問題はですね、ちょうどその時一番、サウススーダンがですね、内乱というかね、内紛の混乱の極みだったわけですよね。で、5年間も自衛隊がいてですね、こういうふうに帰ってしまうこと自身がですね、世界から見ても、サウススーダンの人から見てもですね、ナンセンスだったんですね。でもやったことは非常に素晴らしいことをやったんですけども、日本っていつも評価されない。かってなんだっけな、イラクじゃなくて中東でね、日本が、軍隊派遣できないんでお金で貢献しましたけど、あんな立派お金払ってもですね、批判されてしまうというようなことがまた今回も。湾岸戦争、そう、湾岸戦争でした。なんですね。で、ジャイカがここで関与したっていう何をしたのか言ってない。多分、彼女知らないでしょうね、中身をね。で、しかもですね、日本人ってのはいつもね、なんていうかな、今が抜けてるんですけど、ワシントンで開催したんですね、これは。で、ワシントンで各政府のですね、偉い人がワシントンに来てですね、それぞれの国が何をしているかということを発表する場として利用してるんですけど、今回そうすることによって、プラスにならなきゃいけないんですね。ですけど、明らかにこのプレゼンテーションを聞いて、1時間ですけど、わかりますように、マイナスだったんですね。質問者が南スーダンで抗戦しなければならない状態になったらどうするのか質問に対して、どうするんですかと、戦争になったらどうするんですかと、自衛隊が撃たれたらどうするんですかということを発表者が答えられなかった。それはね、撃たれそうになったら撃ち返すべきでしょう。それは当たり前ですよねって。それは日本から政府とか日本から批判があるかもしれませんけど、そんなことを答えるのは当たり前ですよね。自分の命が危なくなったらそれを守るのは当たり前だし、目の前でスーダンの人たちがね、やられていればそれに対して、なんとか守るのは当たり前だということをね、当たり前のことが当たり前に言えなかったということはもう恥ずかしいようですね。で、2011年から、ジブチに日本の自衛隊の基地がある。ジブチっていうのはですね、これは自衛隊だけじゃなくて中国も最近作ってますし、アメリカもありますし、欧米もジブチはそれでもって基地料でもってお金を稼いでいるところがあるんです。小さい国です。で、日本の自衛隊の場合は海賊行為を撲滅が目的で、500名から600名も駐在してるんですね。で、アデン湾にはなんと日本の船がね、1500隻とか2000隻が来ています。で、有事の際にはね、日本人を避難させる目的を持っている。有事だってね、ジブチ、アメリカはもう、アフリカ各地に基地っていうか、アドバイザーがいてね、いっぱいたくさん、アフリカ軍っていうのはあってですね、監視団ですけど、あるんですけど、もし日本がそうするんだったらね、ジブチだけじゃなくてですね、世界あちこちにそういう日本人をね、保護するようなものを作るべきでしょうね。
Unnoさんね。
はい。
船がこれにいるっていう話があるんですけども、はい、としてはいいことですけども、もし有事が起こる場合は、その前にインテリジェンスの機能を日本が持つ必要があって、そういうことは日本の総領事館とかはやってないじゃないですか、十分には。
僕はね、多少そういう方々とお付き合いしたことあるんですけどね、 やっぱりね、国民がね、軍隊に対して批判的なんで予算がやっぱりね、確かに法務省の中にあるんですよ。予算がね、やっぱ取れないんですね。ですから、考えることは考えてるんでしょうけども、それに見合ったインテリジェンスの部隊とかですね、組織を作ることはできない。で、特殊部隊はいるんですけれども、実戦の経験はやっぱないんですね。アフガニスタンとかなんかに送ってやっぱりタリバン戦うとかそういう実戦をやればいいんでしょうけど、日本はそういう意味では非常になんていうかな、国民があんまりそういうふうな有事に対してどうするかっていう意識が低いもんですから、実戦経験ないんですね。ですから、実際問題が起こった時でもですね、日本は多分何もできないでしょうね。そんな感じですね。で、日本のインフラ開発はですね、中国に対して品質優れていると、これ品質優れているって言います。もうアホじゃないかと、もうね、技術とメンテナンスに関しては日本が世界最高だ。誰だって分かってますよ。このぐらい分かってるんですよ。でもね、高いんですよね。いや、オーディエータって、いつね、円高になるか、今みたいにそうですけど、円高になるか分かんないし、危なくて手出せないっていうのはアフリカの意見ですよね。彼らはね、技術とかメンテナンスって、それは確かにね、中国はいい加減なところがありますから、それを批判する国もあるかもしれませんけど、世界最高級のね、技術とメンテナンス技術レベルをですね、このアフリカに持ってくるっていうのはね、メイクセンスしませんね。で、経済発展と貧困との関係ですけどね、企業がアフリカに進出することによって雇用をもたらす。これは事実ですよ。やっぱりアフリカの各国はどこの国もですね、経済開発っていうのは雇用なんですね。だから、まず雇用が大事だということですね。それは確かに正しいんです。じゃあ、雇用をもたらすためにその企業が現地に行って、中国みたいにですね、新幹線作るとか高速鉄道作るとかっていうことで、2万人、3万人の雇用をもたらしているのは事実です。で、それからやっぱりもう一つ問題があるのは ODA ですね。これはやっぱりね、日本が ODA を、円建てっていうことがやっぱり主要になってるんですね。やっぱドル建てでやるとかですね。それから日本の技術優先で ODA 支援するっていうのはやっぱりやめるべきでしょうね。だから日本の場合はその公的企業というか民間企業でもそうですけど、日本企業との結びつきが強いんですね。それはもう古い考えでしょうね。ですからやっぱり中国なんかの CCTN とか CCTV 見てますとですね、確かにその中国大社出てくるんですけど、それはおまけ程度で、彼らは自分の国益とか国のことを考えないで、その国のためのテレビ放送をしてるんですね。これはやっぱり我々は真剣に考えていかなきゃいけないという課題でしょうね。で、あともう一つはですね、なぜ日本企業がアフリカに来たがらないのかという質問もあって、的確な答えがなかった。これね、もう本当にね、勉強不足ですよね。簡単ですよ。アフリカ遠いんですよね。遠いからね、せいぜい東南アジア止まりで、南アジアも中東にも日本企業はなかなか出ていかないですよね。ましてや北アフリカとか、南アフリカね、中アフリカって、それは言葉もわかんないしね。資源もあるけどね。かって僕はアンゴラでね、アンゴラ政府で15年、20年ぐらい前ですかね、革命で、新政権できた時にマレーシアの仲介で日本の石油会社に売ってくれないかっていうことを言って、僕はマレーシアまでわざわざ行ったんですよね。で、その話をね、アンゴラの政府の代表部と会って、で、メッセージを日本の企業のトップの、皆さんお伝えしたんですよ、皆さんに。でも、どこも皆さんもね、ナイジェリアでしたっけ、そういう、苦い経験があるから、だって逃げたんですね。結局それは、どこが取ったかって言いますと、中国の、中国、CNPC ですね。全権取ったですね。自動車はトヨタじゃなくてですね、韓国が自動車取ったですね。そういうふうな経緯があるんですよね。で、ここの会議でもですね、日本が常任理事国になるための支援を期待しています。なぜかと国連はですね、一国一票なんで、やっぱりアフリカっていうのは54カ国出てればですね、その票が期待したい。ただね、笑っちゃうのはですね、集めてね、お願いしますよってダメなんですよ。ね、ガンビアどういう国だとかね、アンゴラどういう国だとか、ね、サウススーダンどういう国だとか、サウスアメリカどういう国だとかっていうことを知った上で、一体何をあなた方が望んでるのっていうことからね、話をしていかないとですね。じゃあ、あなたには、1000万ドルの支援をこういう形でしますよっていう、個別にね、手を組んでいかなければ、常任理事国の支援国増えないんですね。そこらのところは分かってない。多分ね、麻生先生は分かってるんですけど、安倍先生はね、分かりになってないかもしれませんね。で、国際的な課題といってもですね、 要するに中身は何だかわかんないですね。彼女が言ってるのは、日本は品質いいですよとか、貧困撲滅ですよとか、環境問題、日本協力できますよ。バイオレンスに対して日本が支援できます。バカ言っちゃいかん。あんなこと誰だって分かってるんだ。そういうことですね。で、中国とはね、アフリカでは協力してやっていきたい。中国とはって言いますけど、やってないですね。やろうとしてきませんね。中国はやっぱり、新幹線ですね、高速鉄道を普及する。それからやっぱり、彼らはちゃんとアフリカの、それぞれの国のね、独裁政権と組んで、国家議事を立ててあげたりね、いろいろやったり、そこの大統領のために個人的に支援したりするだけじゃなくてですね、孔子学園というね、やっぱり儒学、立派な宗教ですよね。これを普及しようとしてるし、さらにですね、職業訓練学校も作って、普及してるんですね。だから、必ずしも、中国は植民主義ではないんですね。よくネオコロニアリズムって言いますけど、違いますね。どういうことかって言ってると、やっぱり、ビジネスをしにしたいということですね。だから、10年先にアフリカのビジネスをドミナントしたいっていうのが、どっかでね、ネオコロニアリズムの基盤が出てくるかもしれませんよ。習近平が、チャイナインペリアリズムをね、どんどん推進していけば、サウスチャイナシーからどんどん広がって、サウスエイジア、ミドルイースト、アフリカというふうに、だんだんそういうテリトリーをね、グローバルに展開していく可能性十分でありますけど、今のところは、そういう記載を出してないですね。はい。
この中国の動きは、広い意味の一帯一路の、活動の一部と位置づけられているんですか、中国は。
アフリカ実は一帯一路は入ってないんですけど、バーッと見ていく中で、一帯一路って言葉は時々出てきますね。入ってないですよ。かってなんだっけな、600年前にね、チュンホっていうね、中国の人が28,000人の300隻の艦隊を持ってきてね、コンゴに来たんですよね。今、600年前に。そういうことの話に出てきたりして、一帯一路と直接はね、関係してないんですけれども、そういうふうなことも、中国がやろうとしてるんで、アフリカも、我々としては、一生懸命力を入れていきたいって、そんなようなノリですかね。一帯一路には入ってない。航海あたりまで入ってるんですよ。航海ね。あそこの、オイルタンカー通る道、航海ね。the Horn of Africa ってね、あたりまで入ってるんですよね。それから、日本はね、ボコハラムに対して、今ボコハラムって言ってないんですけど、ボコハラムっていうのは日本人に通りがいいんで、ボコハラムって言ってますけど、新しい名前は非常に覚えにくい名前なんで、ボコハラムって言いますけれども、今のところは関与していない。日本はテロに対して軍事行動ができない。これは変な話ですよね。テロ活動に参加しないようにするための支援はしてきている。例えば失業を減らすための職業訓練とかね。職業訓練で、中国は農業支援センターで農業支援をやってるわけですよね。そういうふうな、ことですね。だから、なんか中国と対抗意識を持って対抗してますけど、いや、所詮それはね、対抗してもあんまり勝てない。何が日本のね、優勢があるのかってことをね、ソフトウェアなんですけど、そこら辺のところ認識がね、日本政府はないですね。ODA にこだわってダメですね。
なんか具体、まだ全部見てないんでわかんないんですけど、経済活動を通じて、貧困とか貧困撲滅、貧相向上させるって、それ以外のことってありえないだろうみたいな、さっき言ってた、もう本当に、お題目にもならないぐらい当たり前のことで、ただそれをバーンと掲げて、その範囲内でディスカッションするいかなることも、そこから外れてなければ間違ってないみたいな、なんかそういう風にくくって、具体性がなかったり、日本の国会の答弁みたいに、本当のことは言わないで、その場をやり過ごすみたいな、そういうやり方をそのまま海外に持ってっちゃってると、本当に日本って遅れてるねっていう印象を与えるんじゃないかなっていうふうに、これを、冒頭のところを見て思ったのと、あと日本って、こういう全体をまとめて、総括的に話をする人がいて、 それ以外にきっと専門家もいると思うんですよね。
いっぱいあるでしょうね。
各国に、各国のことを知ってると、いわゆる言われてるような人たちがいるんですけど、なぜか、そういう専門性と、こういう対外的に打ち出す、そのメッセージっていうのが、なんか乖離するというか、もう個別は個別、こういう話になるともう、とてつもなくざっくりとした話しか出てこなくて、なんで、まあどこでもそうだと思うんですけど、まあジャイカさんもそうですし、企業の中もそうだと思うんですけど、そう専門性と、こう、外に対して発信するっていうのがなかなかうまく、機能しないっていうか。
まあ、私がね、このアフリカ、時間使ったのは3ヶ月、4ヶ月ぐらいですけども、やっぱり実際にアフリカがどういうふうなことをしているのか、国別に見てってね、それぞれの国がどんな活動をしているのか、どういうレベルなのか、そういうふうなことを、まあ、本に3冊まとめたわけですけど、まとめた内容のことはやっぱり政府の今回出てきた、TI キャードに出てきた日本の政府の代表者が読んでないんですね。そういう勉強してない、そのレベルまで。で、日本人の悪い癖はですね、多分安倍総理もそうですけど、今回のアフリカ開発会議やるにあたって、アフリカについてね、まあ2時間。長くて4時間。研修会作るから、予約して説明せろというふうなことを言ったと思うんですよね。例えば4時間の説明でしたらね、せいぜい出て、そうですね、ズマとかね、ムガベとか、そこ止まりなんですよね。で、それじゃあね、アフリカ、要するにそのグローバライゼーションですよね。でグローバライゼーション全般的な話としてアフリカの経済実態、政治の状況、例えば独裁政権何カ国あるかって、そんなレベルでしか話できませんから、だからやっぱりせいぜいその3日ぐらいね、時間使って、きちんとアフリカを、この代表部がね、勉強することぐらい。だから、5、6とやったんだったら、2日間だったら、せいぜいその準備にね、総理大臣は、まあ、300億ドルだと思いましたけど、時間を使ってね、勉強をしてほしいですね。それがないと、要するにもちろんその外務省の方もそうですけど、日本の進出とか技術とかっていう話が前面に出てですね、ODA を出すよっていう話が、従来通りの話が出てきて、ホームページ見ればそんなこと書いてありますけど、それとやっぱりね、アフリカ貧困が多いから、一人当たりの GDP が400ドルと500ドルだから、貧困撲滅のための開発援助しましょうね、みたいなことになっちゃうんですね。まあ、それはね、間違いじゃないけどね、もう、アメリカにとかね、やっぱりイギリスのとかドイツの人たちから言わせればね、なんとか、ファースト、茶番ですね。ファースト、茶番劇だって言いますよね。茶番劇ですよ。そんなね、例えばね、貧困僕、あんなことみんな分かってる。出てくる人は54、3角4角、全員分かってるんだ。その貧困をなぜね、3 decades、4 decades ね、なくならないのか。そこら辺のところをね、なぜそうなのかって、もちろん国別に違うわけですから。中にはいい大統領もいるし、ダメな大統領もいるわけでね。それぞれに対してどういうふうなことを日本がね、やっていくのか。で、僕はね、こうやって、まあ、長い時間かけてね、僕自身が感じたことを言いますとね、中国、日本はハードウェアはもちろんやりますよ。ハードウェアのメニュー、例えば新幹線のいろいろメニュー、進出とかテクノロジーの一覧表もありますよ。ですけどね、目玉はやっぱりね、日本はね、ここに確かに書いてある、医療保険ですね。医療保険。それからあともう一つは、教育ですよね。子供を産まないようにするための、どんどん作っちゃいますからね。今、貧困の最大の原因はね、多産なんですよ。子供、経済成長いくらしてもね、3%、4%、5%やったってね、子供出生率がもっと多いですからね。平均年齢23、24なんて国がざらありますからね。それじゃあね、日本みたいな高齢者の面倒見どうするかって、これらの国は子供の面倒どうやってね、働ける人たちが面倒見るかっていうのが課題でね、そういうことを一言も出てこないと全く勉強ですよね。だから、医療保険って薬が足りないって、そうじゃなくて子供をどうやってコントロールしていったらいいのか。それから、やっぱ高等教育ですよね。だから、日本がやっぱりアフリカにですね、大学を10作りますと。10年間10作ります。それから、高等教育をこういうふうに充実します。それから、やっぱり職業訓練学校をね、30作ります。 それから健康医療保険関係に対する医療ホスピタルをね、20作ります。こういうふうなね、具体的な対策、そうすることによってですね、やっぱりね、要するに、貧困を減らす何かって経済開発、雇用を増やす。お前バカ言っちゃいかんよと私に言わせりゃ。本当のこと分かってると、こいつら何分かってんだと思ってるんですよ。だから1万1000名のうち9000名ぐらい口上げて、ああ、こいつら何しにしたんだ、みたいなふうに思ってるでしょうね。それがね、私の意見ですね。
茶番って言ってたのは、まあ私も今、自分でやってる中で感じですけど、日本って独りよがりなんですよね。それ多分、茶番という表現にもなると思うんですけど、独りよがりっていうのは、何かっていうと、こういう技術がありますとか、こういうインフラを作る、技術と品質がありますって、それは独りよがりなんですけど、まあ、こっちのものを提示して、向こうが受ける受けない。で、ODA であればお金も、まあ、円借款とか無償とかでも出しますよと。なんですけど、まあ、もしその貧困とか、なんとかっていうことを掲げるのであれば、多分そのハードウェア、絶対的な、これ、品質でこう評価できるようなものではなくて、宇野さんが言ったようにいろんな政府としての貧困対策とか、多産対策とか、そういうことをやらなきゃいけないことをソフトウェアを含めてソフトウェアというのであれば、きっとちゃんとローカルコンテキストに基づいて、いろんな施策を打っていかなきゃいけないんですけど、そういうことをやると言いながら、結局独りよがりで交渉するようなスキームしか持ってないというかですね。そこは多分、もう問題なんじゃないかなっていう気も。
あれなんでしょうね。やっぱりまあ日本だけじゃないのかもしれませんけど、やっぱ民主主義っていうね、まあこれ民主主義でやってるんですけど、今僕は第一冊のね、民主主義の本で書いたんですけど、デリバラティブデモクラシーってね、熟議民主主義ということで、環境なんかやってるんですけど、一般大衆が100人単位のね、チームを作って意見を提言して、なんだっけ、世界の環境会議のために提言するっていうふうなことをやってますけど、コップですね。それをやっぱりね、日本がですね、政府に対してね、それはオーストラリアとかデンマークとかそういうふうな民間団体が政府もそれをね、吸い上げるような、ルートを作ってるんですけど、日本もそういうふうな、民間の意見を取り上げて、例えばアフリカの専門家の意見を取り上げて、こういうふうな体制を組むっていうふうな仕組みが必要でしょうね。で、彼ら、自分の周りにいるアドバイザーの意見でもそういうことをやってしまうんで、要するにいつも決まりきった経済産業省とか、文部科学省とか外務省みたいなのを、いわゆる定番的なね、意見でもって、気持ちよく、心よく、話がしてしまうというところがあるんでしょうね。それはやっぱ変えないといけないですよ。
デリバラティブの民主主義っていうのは、今までやってきた枠組みでは対応できない、産業をまたいだとか、学際的なテーマを使うときに、今までの、組織の情報処理とか、意思決定をするプロセスでは巻き取れないようなテーマを、専門家とか、自分たちの知らないことを知っている人たちの意見を取り入れて、やるっていう、そういう意味でもあると思うんですけど、今の官僚って全部自分たちの知っている今までやってきた方法で全部新しいこと、わからないことを巻き取ろうとするから、無理が出てくるんじゃないかと思うんで、そういう体制、日本の新しいこととか、なんか分野をまたいだことに対する対応の構えっていうのが、なんかうまくなったらいいんじゃないかなって気がします。
デリバラティブデモクラシーってのはね、世界でやってるのは必ずしもね、専門家集団じゃないんですよ。で、やっぱ専門家も例えばテーマによっては、まあメンバーの3分の1ぐらい入れますけれども、やっぱり一般大衆全く知らない人たちですね、がその過半数を占めてるんですね。それは日本でも入ってますように、裁判制度のね、 陪審制度にいたとかあって、全くの資料を集めて彼らから、事前にもちろんその事件とかそういうことに関してはね、内容についてノーティファイするんですけど、そういうふうな、もちろんその課題のテーマに対してね、アフリカの貧困って貧困に対してその背景を説明しますけれども、素人集めてね、意見、結構それ結論としてはね、環境問題もなかなかまともな意見が出てくるんですね。何か僕はわかりませんけど、専門家集団がその専門的な意見を求めれば一番ベストなのかって必ずしもそうじゃなくて、やっぱり一般大衆の意見を大事にするっていうことがどうもね、世の中の一般の流れですね。じゃあそのところでいいですか。まあそういうことで今概要を説明しましたけど、単語ちょっと見てみますね。entrust。precursor。これもよく出ますね。precursor。consolidation。bicker。あんまり使わない。contingent。これもよく出ます。evacuate。hard edge。hard edge。妥協しないですね。analogous。complication。厄介な問題。complication。spacious。impediment。まあ、難しい単語少ないんでですね、こんなもんですけど、まあ、それで、ビデオを見てみますかね。これ、立ち上げてあるんですよね。どこだろうな。これか。これですね。1時間15分。
Focus a little bit on what Japan has been doing in Africa in the area of peace building. My name is Yuki. I'm a senior associate here at STEM CCC program. Today I'm very pleased to have Ms. Rie Takezawa. She is a research fellow at the International Institute for Peace and Security, which.
Okay, recording not so good, so the volume is maximum, but still her voice is sounding. But but those right side lady is a speaker, so a little bit patient for
this. She's a nonprofit think tank in Japan. Previously, she has worked on short-term assignment at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and she is
Okay, she is a Minister of Foreign Affairs. So she just short assignment, she said, okay? Short assignment, so she does not worry about the content.
A PhD candidate, and the actual
Still, she is PhD.
Candidate.
Okay, candidate, same.
He has a good PhD.
Yeah. Especially
she will talk about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll then open up the floor to question and answers and comments. So without further ado.
Oh, this is, they are making a presentation in Washington. This is the same, exactly same as, all the rest of the world representative came to Washington, make presentation and give the message to the American government to get their, approval or get their support. So this is one of those.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tatsumi. I am very honored today to be given the chance to speak at this wonderful session. So the topic of my presentation is Japan's Africa policy from TCAT to PKO. Now, Japan's and Africa relations. It is often said that due to the geographical distance and the weak historical link, Japan has a psychological distance to Africa. Now, however, more and more Japanese companies are doing business in Africa over the years, and the amount of trade has increased. Also, the amount of development assistance has increased, especially since the 1990s. And today, Japan is contributing to PKO in Africa as well.
Okay, she is showing some slides.
Today,
This
I'm
side.
going to focus
We can
mainly
see.
on Japan's peace building policy towards Africa, peace building policy in Africa. And here is the main focus of my research. So Japan's policy to contribute proactively to the peace, stability, and prosperity of Africa emphasizes peace building through economic development. Now, this
Okay, just I
is
told you. Oh, shit. I told you. Peace building through economic development, she said, okay?
a key idea through my presentation today. And since the launch of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which is the first major Japanese initiative on the African continent, Japan's peace-building policy towards Africa has evolved to focus on quality growth. And principles such as
Okay, quality growth and such as sustainability.
However, challenges still remain in defining and implementing such policy. So how can Japan refine its policy to better assist Africa's peace building? This will be the main focus of my presentation today, and I will wrap up the presentation by addressing challenges and some policy recommendations. So, what is Japan's peace-building policy in Africa? Well, first of all, Japan's contribution to peace-building has restrictions such as military activities outside Japanese territory in unstable areas. Therefore, Japan has developed a unique peace-building policy over the years. This is why Japan has come to emphasize peace-building through economic development. As I mentioned early on, I would now like to focus on TICAD, the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, as this has been the center of Japan's policy towards Africa, and also for Japan's peace-building policy.
By the way, when this 2016. Okay, 2016.
In Africa. And this was the first major Japanese initiative on the African continent, and it was launched in 1993. Now, why was it launched in 1993? There are two main reasons. One is that Japan came to realize that the global interest in Africa had faded since the end of the Cold War. The second point is that the Hosokawa administration at the time was promoting proactive diplomacy and increasing Japan's role as a nation committed to peace and expanding its ODA. With regard to the first point, as one of the efforts, the administration launched TICAD. Now I would like to take a close look at how TICAD and peace-building policy evolved over the years. So these are some of the key points. So the first TICAD, here peace-building was not directly mentioned. However, stability and security are prerequisites to sustainable development. This was one of the main points that was addressed in the meeting, in the conference. The first two TICAD conferences, the main focus was development assistance. In TICAD 3, in 2003, the consolidation of peace concept first appears. Now, this is a Japanese concept of peace building. The reason
she said many times peace building, and she said many times she's going to support how to build a peace building with the country's stability. This means nothing.
Why Japan was not so keen on using the term peace building is related to the fact that Japan has restrictions to committing Japan has restrictions in contributing to peace building, especially military activities outside the Japanese territory.
She's reading.
So Japan...
She's reading.
Yeah, you're reading.
Paper.
So it's ridiculous.
It was promoting its own concept, consolidation of peace. So through TCAT 3 to TCAT 5, the consolidation of peace and strengthening the economic basis of development was the key focus. The most
This is for sure why she's reading sentences, because her boss asked her to bring materials what she's going to make presentation. That's the reason why she need to prepare the material, and she should follow on the based upon the sentences. That's always like this. Not her responsibility. It's as a culture of foreign ministry.
recent TCAT conference was held this August. And here, continuation of previous TCAT policies have been valid. But also it is interesting to see that more direct peace-building related areas and strategies were addressed. For example, contribution...
But also the content is so poor because of surrounding opinion leaders. Tell her, not say like that. You should not say that. You should say this and this. So finally, the contents of her material is supposed to be disastrous, right?
Towards capacity building in border management and peacekeeping operations. This was one of the key strategies that was addressed. It is also interesting to see that the foreign minister emphasized in his speech that the importance of human resource development as a key focus for the future of peace building in Africa. So Japan has addressed that it will contribute more to the capacity.
木本ね、ノイズが大きい。ノイズが入る。木本。
はい。
何もしてないよな。
今何もしてないです。
オッケー。なんでだよ。
なんか、
え？
じゃあミュートしましょうか。
そうだね。なんか言うとき、音出してやってくる。なんかね、変な音が入ってくる。
Building and human resources development as in order to promote peace building. Now, although the Japanese peace building policy in Africa has evolved and shifted over the years, at the policy implementation level, still a wide range of areas and sectors are subject to peace building, and therefore the areas that fall under peace building still remains very wide. Now, Japan refers to this as a diverse array of efforts. JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, which is responsible for implementing Japan's ODA projects, states that assistance for peace building shares the same objective with conventional development assistance, such as education, health, agriculture.
This is point is right. She said education. But she just too much emphasize on peace building. No. We're going to consider for future Africa. So they have a dream, they have hope. So we're going to attain those people's dream. So we're going to contribute to build university and training school, and so specialize in industrializing some sort of training for you. This is most important, but also try to teach them some birth control, so forth. This is the most important for Africa. So she just needs to focus on what objective. She doesn't.
Culture, infrastructure. So mainly, they are focused on the more long term.
This is Japanese typical cases, diversified, like infrastructure. Also, we need to consider for the, many kind of diverse industry development and so of things. Saying too much, right? So they could not focus on, right?
Issues for peace building. And this comes to link with the current Japan's ODA policy, quality growth and poverty reduction through economic development.
So she said the poverty reduction through economic development. Then what are you going to do? Or what do you want to say more? But she can't say. Right? She said, now I would like to take a close look
at the case of South Sudan. Now this is a unique case where Japan...
Nothing close look. Okay? Just superficial.
Self-defense forces are committed, are contributing to the UNPKO mission, and also where JICA is implementing ODA projects. So regarding Japan's self-defense forces contribution, the engineering unit has been engaged in constructing roads and other infrastructure projects. So contributing to the protection of civilians' activities is through such infrastructure building activities. And so what is JICA doing? The aim of Japan's ODA project in South Sudan is to contribute to the consolidation of peace in the country. Strategically, it is focused mainly on contributing to the long-term development of the country. So this is in line with what I mentioned earlier. So, for example, it is infrastructure and social and economic development, diversification of industry, and so on.
So what she said is nothing in depth of detail, right? Right? She said nothing. What? Diversification of industry? What? African people just only expecting agriculture. What do you mean diversification?
The self-defense forces have collaborated with ODA. And this is in order to maximize the impact of Japan's foreign assistance. However, the current collaboration is driven at the on-the-ground level, the field level, and it is said to lack policy-level collaboration. For example, the kind of collaboration that is being carried on at the moment is that the self-defense forces will repair the community road or construct the community road using materials that have been granted under the ODA scheme. So this is the kind of collaboration that is taking place right now. So there is need for more collaboration in the future. I would like to address three main challenges. The first one is for Japan to balance in pursuing Japan's unique style of peace building and Japan's contribution to the international peace building efforts. The second point is Japan's too comprehensive policy and implementation strategy. The third point is Japan's interest.
This second point is, I don't understand what she means. And she said the policy and implementation strategy. And I need to explain her. Okay, I agree with her. Japan is very different from just in the front of explanation in Japanese. I told you already explained for you. Japan is very unique to not chasing for their own national interest. They don't, right? So this is a big difference.
The strategy in Africa remains unclear. Now, according to Japan's NSS Guiding Principles 2013, ODA should be used strategically to pursue national interests and objectives. However, if we take a look at Japan's ODA figures, the blue figure is the total amount of Japan's ODA. The red line shows the amount of ODA towards Africa, ODA in Africa. So when looking at this graph, it is evident that the proportion of ODA in Africa is still limited compared to the overall ODA. So, still, Japan's ODA policy towards Africa is not necessarily at the center of interest in Japan's allocating Japan's ODA. I have 3 policy recommendations today. They're related to the challenges that I have just addressed. Japan needs to establish main focus and objectives of Japan's peace building in Africa, including addressing or emphasizing the uniqueness of Japan's policies such as quality growth, which was mentioned in the Development Cooperation Charter that was revised last year. Secondly, in order to maximize the effect of Japan's development assistance and Japan's contribution towards peace building, Japan should consider an all-Japan approach for peace building. Thirdly, Japan could promote the private sector to set up operations in Africa, which could help accelerate economic development, which links to the point which Japan is addressing, which is peace building through economic development. Thank you very much for listening. That's my presentation.
All her presentation. This is typical Japanese. Okay, this is not she. She is not poor knowledge or poor experience. This is as I told you, the script is reviewed by her boss, her organization. So this is just the result is very poor content. Okay, nothing.
So what you see here is actually the initial concept. She's working eventually to write a short paper that consists of all these components, and you will see more refined version of that in next spring when she and 3 other authors comes back here in Washington to release their final publication. And this Japan Policy to Africa is one chapter of that report later on early next year. So with that, I would like to open the floor for any questions, feedbacks, or clarification you may want to see. This is definitely her first time to meet all of you, so when you do ask, please do identify yourself. And with that, I'd like to open, sir.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. My name is Doug Brooks. I'm with the International Stability Operations Association, which is an association of private sector companies that work in peacekeeping and stability operations. I think Japan's role in terms of African peacekeeping and stability operations has been improving over the years. However, as we see in South Sudan, where Japan has a military unit on the ground, what happens when the military unit is caught up in some of the problems, some of the combat that is happening? Are they running into the same problems as the other UN units have run into in South Sudan?
Okay, this is a very good question. Listen to her answer.
Thank you very much for your comments and questions. So regarding the self-defense forces in South Sudan, currently the dispatched unit is the engineering unit in South Sudan, as you know. Have they been caught up in problems that other forces are facing? Well, with regard to the clashes that took place in this summer, well, according to the Japanese government, the Japanese forces have not been directly involved. and therefore Japan is not planning on leaving the mission, and Japan will continue its contribution towards the PKO mission. Does that
What?
answer your question?
No.
What the hell is she talking about? Oh, son of a bitch.
What happens if they get caught up?
Okay, what happens if they do get caught up? Well, I think the Japanese government is focusing
Shoot it! Kill them! Fucking shit!
on sustainable dispatch of the forces at the moment. So I think that what happens to the forces depend on the political will. So I think they are likely to continue their mission, but it's difficult to define what will happen.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's just like just shooting.
Oh my god.
It's disgrace.
Son of a bitch. Kill them.
But this is identified actually be a very hot political button issue today, because I think the Japanese Diet are essentially bickering over whether to add additional mission to the Japan-Japanese contingents in South Sudan as we speak. So Defense Ministry got caught up in the middle of debate.
There's been no decision made.
You know, they're still arguing like our Congress. So
David Shen, George Washington University. You didn't make any mention of the Japanese military base in Djibouti. I'm wondering if you could explain how that
Oh, Djibouti, okay.
factors in to this broader policy engagement that Japan has in Africa in terms of peace building, because it seems to be something of an outlier in what you just explained.
Thank you very much for your comment and question. Yes, Japan has a base in Djibouti since the year 2011. And Japan's main mission in Djibouti is the anti-piracy mission, contribution towards the anti-piracy operation. Currently there are an average of 500 to 600 personnel, I think. And with regard to Japan's broader peace-building policy, I think this shows that Japan is trying to strengthen more of its contribution towards the international efforts of peace-building. Focusing on Japan's genuine interests of having a base in Djibouti, between 1,500 and 2,000 ships are said to use the Gulf of Aden Japanese ships. So it is also in the Japanese genuine interests to contribute to this anti-piracy international effort.
If I could just follow up very quickly, though, there haven't been any successful pirate attacks in 2 years. I realize that in 2011 that was the reason for going into Djibouti, but like China, which is also setting up a base in Djibouti, it seems that the continuation of the project there will be anti-piracy.
Thank you very much. Actually, there's been some discussion in the Japanese Diet, and the discussion is still being carried on. The Djibouti base is about to have another objective, and that is to contribute to evacuating the Japanese if there is a security matter in the African region. So this is about to become another focus for Japan to have a base in Djibouti, because it is trying to promote more contribution
Ellen Frost, East West Center. I'm also on the board of
Sorry,
East
I didn't.
International.
What she answered? I just answered for the Touch Club will come this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
What she answered?
The answer is that having the base in the price is to get Japanese evacuated if some security matter happen.
What's it?
Evacuation.
Security matter?
Yeah. Some.
Okay, that's the
security matter
This one?
in the African region. So this is about to become another focus for Japan to have a base in Djibouti, because it is trying to promote more contribution towards the African region.
Many people disappointed, right?
Ellen Frost, East West Center. I'm also on the board for East International, which is a development and humanitarian organization with operations in South Sudan. So I have a question and a comment. The question is, China has just come up, and I'm wondering if there's some harder-edged foreign policy issues here. Japan has come up with a partnership for quality infrastructure and partial response to the AI. I mean, on the surface, everybody loves everybody and wants to get along, but underneath, there's clearly some rivalry. So I wonder if you see that as one of the motives of Japanese foreign policy, in addition to the benign, development ones. To what extent China plays in Japan's thinking. The comment is very quickly. Well, the question really: Japanese NGOs and perhaps even Japanese companies might find themselves in a somewhat analogous position to the U.S. NGOs, specifically. It's in the U.S. NGOs' interest not to be identified very strongly with the military or with the U.S. government. And yet, sometimes the military gets advance notice of that some attack is going to occur. So there's sort of a delicate balancing act when it comes to U.S.-based or even UK-based NGOs. I wonder if maybe Japan is a little freer in that respect, if NGOs are in fact operating in Africa, and if they are, do they do so sort of hand in hand with the government, or is there a distance between?
Thank you very much for your informative comment and questions. I would like to answer your second point first. So, is there a distance between Japanese NGOs and the government? A short answer will be, I think, yes. And having talked to Japanese NGOs who are operating in the African region, I wouldn't say all of them, but quite a few of them have a strong reaction towards cooperating or collaborating with the Japanese government, and especially with regard to the South Sudan case. NGOs are very often careful in how they collaborate with the self-defense forces, especially with the self-defense forces. So even if the self-defense forces or the government is outreaching to the NGO side is often takes a very careful, sensitive reaction. And the first point.
So she does not know how many NGOs in Africa. Almost nothing. So she just cooperates with self-defense force. Oh my God! What the hell that she is talking with or Japanese government? You mean the embassy in Africa? What kind of cooperation will going to be happening for Japanese NGO? What kind of NGO in Africa? Still, she does not know, right? Very few.
That you addressed. Thank you very much. The China issue definitely has been discussed very much in Japan as well.
been discussed? She said discussed?
Discuss.
Discussed, right?
What extent does China play in Japan's policy? Now, how does the Japanese government think of China's commitment, contribution in Africa? Well, I think that the government is conscious of China's increasing commitment to Africa. However, this is not the only key aspect which is currently driving Japan's policy. There are many other, much more other genuine interests of Japan that actually make Japan's policy. However, Japan is, I think, this is how I view it, but the Japanese government is conscious of China's increasing commitment, and therefore this is why, as you mentioned, Japan is emphasizing quality. And especially in the ODA Charter that was revised last year, quality was one of the key words that appears.
Is she talking about differentiate from China?
Quality growth, Japan is going to be promoting this concept, but I view it that Japan is trying to emphasize its strength with regard to the sort of competing nature with China.
Sort of competing nature with China.
Japan's infrastructure project is of high quality. This is the...
It means she talking about highway rail? Or is she talking about kind of some sort of supporting for industry?
Kind of, I think, quality that Japan is going to emphasize. And also Japan is saying that it will follow up carefully on their infrastructure project, and also it will provide technical
maintenance, right?
assistance. So capacity building assistance in order to, for example, how to maintenance these infrastructure projects or how to utilize these infrastructure projects effectively. So this is the kind of quality that Japan will probably emphasize more in the future.
Thanks, Leon.
This is emphasize the future. No, this is, she cannot make a well answer for the audience. Audience, they do not expect, kind of Japanese is better quality or good maintenance for the infrastructure. And also those people, they are not expecting for the Japanese building kind of, sort of infrastructure building. And also she said peacekeeping, but everybody believes that Japanese do not know how to wage war. So you don't know the waging war, how come you try to contribute for peacekeeping? Economic development, what did you expecting for instead of China? China is much more better than Japanese people, Japanese industry government. They do, right? So more cheaper, more bigger scale, more experience, right? So this is what she, but so her presentation actually they're talking about what the distinguish between China and Japan. She cannot make answer. She cannot save Japan. She cannot. She could not. Terrible, right?
I'm sure home at the U.S. Foreign Service when I'm retired. Unless I missed something in your presentation, it seemed like you define contributions to peacekeeping so broadly as to be hardly...
Oh, she said, exactly, she said, peacekeeping so broader, right?
Different from, for example...
Very difficult to understand, right?
The infrastructure projects being...
Also, he said infrastructure project, you said...
By the MCC, the United States Millennium Challenge Corporation, which is heavily on infrastructure. unless you have something like hoping to train engineering battalions, perhaps, I just don't see how this is really peacekeeping or peace building without stretching such a definition so broadly.
Thank you very much. That certainly is an important point. So in my presentation today, I defined peace building very broadly. As far as I know, there are still differing definitions among governments and international organizations on how to define what the definition of peace building is. So therefore, in my presentation, my definition is that peace building provides seamless support in various phases from conflict resolution to reconstruction and development. So this is my definition, and I understand your point very well, and I certainly think it's an important point. Now, why Japan's contributions are very wide, and why it doesn't seem much different to the ordinary official development assistance that is being carried out. Now, this is one of the key points to my research, but so Japan resulted in taking such policy because it has regulations. It is limited on what it can actually do, how it can actually contribute to peace building. So especially there is a limited.
This guy wanted to say, okay, Japanese cannot handling peace building. What hell you are talking about? His question. What Japan government is thinking about peace building? You said economic development or son of bitch. Economic development is control peace building? No, kidding. His question, but he cannot answer anything at all.
Role of the military that Japan can use. So therefore, Japan had to rely very much on the ODA schemes. So Japan addressed that through economic development, the country is likely to become more stable. So this is the basis of peace building. This is the basis for a country to stabilize. So this is a sort of concept that Japan has developed over the years. However, since the ODA Charter has been revised last year, Japan will be in the future able to provide training to the military sector. So I think
I think this is a good point. Training for me. He said military sector. This is wrong. Japanese cannot make a military sector training. Japanese give them training for the industry, most technology training or more industrial training, more advanced training for like that. Right?
In future, Japan's contributions will.
Okay, everybody skeptical what she said, right? Military? What do you mean?
Be sort of more direct to the peace building sectors.
I am Mary Francis from the Department of Labor, and I have a question about quality growth. So the United States has a trade preference program with Africa. It's called the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. And under AGOA, the U.S. government takes strong efforts, like the Japanese are, to promote American private sector to set up operations in Africa. But we too are concerned about quality growth. We want to make sure that the growth brought by American firms is quality and sustainable, so we don't end up with a situation like we have in Bangladesh. So through that, we're really increasing our engagement on labor standards to ensure that the companies that do move into Africa are adhering to international labor standards, but also that the government is taking efforts to improve those standards. I'm wondering if Japan is doing anything similar to that on their efforts to promote quality growth.
Very difficult to listen our question, right?
Thank you very much. That
She understands?
definitely is one of the key issues that must be considered when promoting growth, especially in Africa. Japan, since it focuses mainly on the long-term aims of development assistance, as one of the capacity building programs, it focuses on building stable economic. It focuses on building stable economic development plans with the government. So it is committing to actually developing the development plan with the government so that it can experience steady, stable growth. And also, so the capacity building effort is going on in many sectors, related sectors as well. So also, for example, as part of Japan's focus to stabilize the country, so it is focusing on the governance sector as well. So how the governance sector is going to relate to the economic development, and also it is providing assistance to the legislation area as well. So Japan, I think, is concerned and is aware of the challenges.
I think legislation is meaningful. They need to support for the country and each state, state by state. They're going to give them suggestion how to build their legislation. I mean, doing business there, and how to build in their plan, and how to organize distribution. And one example is I'm developing South America, Latin America, and they are building very good, agriculture business, agriculture product. But certain country, I can't forget that country, but they do not know how to sell those products or how to export those products. So some NGO, some organizations try to build distribution network and how to build a sales price, how to export those products. And then there is one example of the success. At that certain level of point, you need to explain. Otherwise, audience, they cannot understand. This is very not typical case. This is very rare case, and Japanese can support. Or this is just legislation, but need to more politely explain what does the legislation mean. Okay, you need to going to change. How can you increase your standard level of life? Oh, so what are you doing there? Okay, we are building some corn or building some wheat. Okay, how are you going to do it? Okay, we're going to sell this wheat and corn, sell to the market. What kind of market are you going to sell? Oh, local market? And then local market, how are you going to set a price and how going to distribute those products? No, that's just only local market. Are you going to export or are you going to deliver these products to outside your state or outside your city? No, they don't. Why not doing that? Okay, so we're going to build a distribution network. We're going to how to develop the sales price and contract negotiation, how to recommend the government to change the regulations, and then finally your product can export to overseas. Why not you try not do that? So this sort of things is if she going to extend to speak out the regulation, this meaningful, right? But she can say that, but she does not know how to sell. She does not know how to escape from their poverty. One is what I'm talking about. This is one of the solutions of how to escape from their poverty. Right? She doesn't know how to do this.
That is likely to come when the African nation is experiencing rapid economic growth. And they are taking, and Japan is assisting measures to overcome those challenges.
So if I'm going to explain her, she said, yes, that's right. But I wanted to say, but this is, I think, this is a communication with overseas people. She is typically Japanese style to explain to Japanese. Non-Japanese people never understand you just, okay, we're going to assist regulation. What does this mean?
My name is Unno, So I just want to push back on your third policy recommendation. The reason I'm asking this is because you're defining this in terms of peacekeeping. So which means that the nations in Africa that we're speaking about are more stable, which is accompanied by the states or problem of legitimacy. So my question then is, if you say you want to encourage Japanese companies, private sector in this region, how is this practical? How does this play out in reality?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. This point relates to a question that was raised earlier on how I define peace building. But so my third policy recommendation not only focuses on post-conflict nations, but nations that are currently stable or is not experiencing conflicts, but have the risk of experiencing conflicts. Or maybe there is no such risk at the moment, but in the future there is a possibility that it will do so. Now Japan thinks that economic development and economic stability relates or is a very important aspect of a nation's stability. So therefore, enhancing economic growth is an important focus for Japan. So to this end, I have made the third policy recommendation of promoting Japanese private sector to set up operations in Africa. So since this is a genuine interest for Japan as well, it is likely that the effort will be sustainable. So I think addressing this third recommendation is important. Thank you.
It's terrible.
意味がわかんないです。
She herself doesn't understand what's the answer.
And the question of governance. Some of these countries have terrible governance. And our own record in trying to improve governance from the outside is really poor. And I'm not sure that Japan's will be any better. I think I understood you to say that the Japanese are looking at the different countries in terms of potential for stable economic development. But economic development has, in much of the world, including here, has been good in terms of averages and GDP growth and all this kind of stuff, but really bad in terms of increasing inequality, especially when you have a big man dictator in Africa who works his family and impoverishes people who are not in his ethnic group and so forth. We all know about these things. So if you would distinguish between governance and economic development, healthy economic development, I would feel a little more reassured about your third bullet. I do think private companies are important, but if they just contribute to inequality, it's not going to be the result of Japan.
Okay, thank you. That's a very difficult, very important but very difficult question to answer. I will answer to the best of my knowledge, but I have written this as a policy recommendation, but it is actually one of the policies that Japan has actually addressed in TCAD 6, which was the TCAD that took in August. So the link between the good governance, economic development, and the increase of inequality. Now, increase in the inequality problem problem that most of the nations in Africa that have experienced economic growth, in other words, that have been successful in economic development is experiencing. So why is Japan addressing this private sector going out to Africa? Well, so I think there are several reasons, but I would like to focus on two. One is that, so the Japanese private company, if they go out to Africa, they may be able to contribute in, so there will be more jobs. I think that's one point. So, so there is a risk if there are too many jobless people, they may be, recruited to, for example, like terrorist groups. Maybe, well, this is one possibility. So, creating jobs is one, I think, aspect. And another aspect is also through Japanese companies, I think the Japanese government is aiming to provide a sort of capacity development aspect as well. So not only is it for the short-term economic interests, but it's also for the capacity development aspect, I think. So, of course, Japan needs to be careful, and also it must take into consideration this problem of inequality. But so,
what do you mean capacity management? I don't understand.
Capacity building.
Hmm?
Capacity building.
Yeah,
Yes.
what does it mean? Capacity building.
The capacity to operate and manage some organization and some improvement effort.
Hmm?
So the basic ability to implement some effort for economic development and some other issues.
I don't understand. What is the second point? Okay, just that she said, okay, Japanese company go to Africa, they generate jobs for the local people, right?
Yeah, the private sector is going out to Africa and do some business. Then it led to opportunity for local person to be hired. So this is a job creating, and also so capacity building is based on training.
Oh, training.
Training. Yes.
Training. So more expert people.
Expert people in
people.
business sector, and yes, and training for even to the government officers.
Okay, this is the point she said is to, but very similar to Chinese strategy. What they think.
they will need to address this point.
Inequality. So how to solve inequality? Probably it's very difficult to solve this problem.
Through ODA, but at the same time promoting this Japanese public sector in Africa, I think is something that can be pursued both at the same time.
She just confused herself. This is difficult. This is related to Japanese.
Yeah, when we're talking official development assistance, are we talking loans or grants? And does Japan place any conditions on its assistance that benefits Japanese industry, like the United States does on its for the?
Thank you very much. Yes. When I refer to Japanese ODA, it consists of loans, grants, and technical assistance. This is capacity building, and also contribution towards international organizations such as the UN and all that. And does Japan have any conditions? Yes, Japan does have. Japan's ODA is sometimes criticized to be tied to the Japanese public sector. But from the viewpoint of Japan, this better promotes Japan's ODA policy and better promotes Japan's aim. Yes.
Well, the original OECD agreement is tied together. You're not supposed to tie it. It's 1980s.
US aid is generally not tied.
Well, I've been out of touch for quite a few years.
He used to be. There's political conditionality, not economic.
Maybe there's conditionality, and it's the Japanese bank.
Hello, my name is Hideki Tomoka. I'm working in a Japanese IT company right now.
Well, Japanese.
I worked in the Japanese government for 20 years. And during 1999 to 2001, I worked in a peacekeeping office of the government, and which is responsible for dispatching self-defense forces or peacekeeping policy. And at that time, I participated to the policy planning for dispatching the self-defense force engineer battalion to East Timor. So it's not Africa, but it's Asia. And so I have some experience there. And so first of all, I came from the Ministry of Defense, and I felt how, especially the ground self-defense forces, Japanese army, were inclined, or they are very passive, or they didn't want to go to Africa actually. And at that time, we, within the Japanese government, we discussed if we could dispatch self-defense forces to Ethiopia,
Uganda,
conflict. But
Uganda.
self-defense forces said, no, Africa. Why Africa? Such kind of sentiment there in 15 years ago. And still, I think that's kind of sentiment there. And
What is the question?
They understand, peacekeeping operation is pretty important. And some years ago, the law changed, self-defense forces law changed, and before, peacekeeping operation is not a mission, but that changed to missions with self-defense. So they can't complain, but they complain. And so why Africa is pretty important for self-defense forces? How to convince them is pretty important. And so back then, 20 years ago, there were very strong politicians who promote help Africa, like Mr. Suzuki, or at the time the Kante Prime Minister was pretty supportive for try to help Africa. But right now I don't see it. So I think we Japan some kind of good support in political level. Otherwise it's so hard for us to more supportive to Africa. And plus right now I work in the private company, and as the person who is working for a private company, we need some kind of benefit coming from Africa if we dispatch some people or we set up a factory, and we may find resources. So such kind of things I think we need to consider. Thank you.
So I guess the question is, do you see anyone major political figure in Japan who can be the strong supporter of Japan's, I guess, greater engagement in Africa?
To answer that question, I don't have a direct answer at the moment. However, although there is, I think that currently the South Sudan case itself is a symbolic case in regard to the changes of the Japanese security legislations and the revision of the ODA Charter. So I think the government is keen to sort of make this dispatch a kind of success. So I think this, for now, the South Sudan case will be a symbolic operation. So this itself will sort of promote Japan's contribution towards Africa. But regarding if Japan is going to expand its contribution to other countries, I think at the current situation, it is not highly likely. And I will continue to think about who is likely to promote Japan's contribution to Africa. Thank you.
Oh my God. What she is talking about? This is the representative of the Japanese government. Well, that's the reason why I'm going to start the London News Network, right? It's very sad. Very sad. Still have questions? Oh my God.
Hi, I'm Kamisato from Armenia Network. My headquarters of Albania supported South Sudan project and also Djibouti.
Oh, he supported Djibouti.
And we have some beta was some risky experience about business. And already we set such a number 2 and number 3 policy, but these didn't work. Already, and with such a precondition, I'm just interested in what your definition of Japan and in the world of actors. And I just interested in what means such a Japan and actors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, All Japan, how I define All Japan? When I say All Japan, of course, the government agencies are included, but also the NGOs, and also with regard to the third point that I have addressed, of course, the public sector, I think, the private sector will is included in this All Japan concept. So it's not only the government agencies, but also the NGOs and also the private companies, I think.
No kidding.
Yes, Dave is from Retired Foreign Service. I'd like to back up to the sort of broader question of the drivers for Japanese interest in policies towards Africa. Could you list a few of those? It seems that a lot of the Japanese focus is on UN institutions in Japan. There's a way of promoting Japan's relationship.
UN and Japan
relationships with the world by working through the UN, rather than going outside the UN to strictly bilateral or more geostrategic considerations. I think you mentioned the competition with China earlier. But certainly the American and Russian approaches have gone outside a lot of UN efforts to advance our own interests in particular countries in Africa. Do you find that in Japanese policy towards Africa in general, that there are, you can think of the obvious economic development issues and access to raw materials, which would drive China as well as Japan. But could you list up a couple of the main drivers for Japanese foreign policy or interest
much. Japan's main interests in Africa. Genuine Japanese interests in Africa, I think, as you mentioned, the natural resources is definitely one of the key interests. And also, Japan, as you mentioned, I think is also focused on promoting its contribution to international efforts. So Japan wants to show or appeal that Japan is taking on some of the international issues and is contributing to international efforts. And Japan is willing to do more in the future. I think this is the kind of postures that Japan is trying to address. Other possible interests, I think there is diplomatic sort of political interest as well. So this is often discussed related to the reform of the United Nations Security Council, and Japan wants to become a permanent member. So in order to achieve this aim, Japan needs more support from African countries, since there are 54 countries in Africa. So this was emphasized in the 2000s, actually, when Japan was promoting more contribution towards Africa. So I think this may be one interest towards Africa.
Is there any cooperative interest with China in developing Africa? Any initiatives by Japan or by China to engage Japan? Joint projects in Africa?
Cooperative projects, as far as I know, not yet. But regarding the anti-piracy operations in Djibouti, China is also contributing to this effort. And so Japan and China has collaborated with regard to the anti-piracy missions. No, not that I know.
I think she is not experienced for those areas. Nothing. And I don't know why Japanese government pick her up or makes kind of presentation. Right? It's a shame. Okay. Japan is mostly concerned about how to involve in Africa with United Nations, and rather than China. Of course, Japan cannot do that, but Japan or Japanese government try to make effort to joint work with Chinese company or Chinese project. But it's not easy, right?
Know of at the moment.
I'm just looking at your second item on the list there, the All Japan approach for peacekeeping. Is there a potential for that principle to conflict with competitive bidding requirements that occasionally are in place for development activities and development projects?
Thank you very much. That's a good question. Very good question. Very difficult question to answer as well. I think that definitely will be one issue. Will become an issue. Right
I don't understand what his question is.
Give a precise example, but I'm sure it will. There is a possibility that it will. With regard to so it largely depends on what the primary interest of each agency or the NGO or the private sector is. And so it is said that there are, differencing interests between government agencies. And of course, so the private sector will also need to look at what each government agency what their primary interests are, what they are trying to promote. So when you think of it as an all-Japan approach, yes, as you mentioned, I think there will be, that definitely will become an issue.
Can I ask a quick question? I was just looking at this. I was looking at your quality growth and the three elements that you include: inclusiveness, sustainability, and resilience. And this inclusiveness question, I think Ellen raised that a little bit with in terms of the governance. And because of the current schemes that are in place for official assistance, often needs to be generated by the government, which could have a major governance problem, like Ellen as well. How can, I guess, Japan help mitigate that to ensure this inclusiveness aspect in its, as it looks aspired toward help facilitating quality growth?
Thank you very much. That is a very important point. So this inclusiveness factor, in order to promote quality growth, what needs to be done to mitigate these issues? Well, I think firstly, this may not be a direct answer to your question, but first of all, I think Japan needs to focus on addressing their policy or their interests towards Africa. So Japan needs to clarify what its primary interests are. Now, by doing this, I think government agencies, the private sector, and including NGOs, will come to realize the difference in what their aims and interests are. So by doing this, by clarifying Japan's interests, I think as a result, the inclusiveness issue will.
She said inclusiveness is considering for overall objective. Japan is making target for Africa, right?
Will improve.
Hi, Richard Poncia here at Stetson. Sorry for my delay. Two quick questions. There's talk now of the next Undersecretary General for Peacekeeping to be a Chinese national. Antonio Guterres just nominated as the next SG starting in January. And given that some argue that Japan's approaches, emphasis on peacekeeping in Africa, let alone having TCAD for the first time in Africa, is partially in response to growing rivalry with China in Africa. I wonder if you comment on that. But secondly, the Hiroshima Peacebuilding Center, initiated by Professor Hideaki Shinoda, a friend of Stinson, several years ago, support from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's a training program, as you know, to prepare the next generation of young professionals for a career track in the UN system working in fragile, conflict-affected states. Wondering what you felt its strengths have been, but in addition, has it performed a convening role for the international community? And I'll give you an example. I was with the Peacebuilding Support Office when we held our first meeting of UN system peacebuilders from around the globe in Hiroshima, thanks to the hosting of the HPC. It was a great interaction because we learned about Hiroshima and this important new training program within the Japanese government, and the young professionals got to interact with senior peacebuilders in the UN system. But wondering if you felt it's really reached its full potential of what it could do both for young Japanese career-minded officials who want to work on peacebuilding in their career, and secondly, a broader role of convening power for Japan.
He's talking about training, right? So education training, because Japan has experienced Hiroshima. So peacekeeping means basically what kind of, how to avoid war or conflict or communication, settling the more how to say, organized people, sort of thing, right? How do you think about this kind of training?
Thank you very much. They are both
She already get tired.
very important issues for Japan. So,
She exhausted.
regarding the second point that you mentioned, so the peace building, the peace builders.
Camera does not show her.
Initiative in Hiroshima, has it reached its full potential? I think that it is a very important effort, and I think the effort in Japan is beginning to be known very widely, and but I think still there is. I think has it reached its
Camera
full
hit
potential? I
her.
think there can be more that can be done, and I think that so.
She's so tired, right? Head is dead, right?
So in educating peace builders, I think this should be one of the key aspects that Japan needs to actually address in, say, for example, TCAT maybe, or in a more broader peace building policy. So this is an important effort, and a lot of Japanese are becoming to know this effort. But the Japanese government, I think, should emphasize more, put more emphasis on educating or training peace builders to meet international levels or expectations and deliver itself.
This content is his question.
Right. His question.
He already commented on this.
Yes, right. So the camera does not show her. Does not show her. And she's so exhausted, you know. Her brain, head is dead. It's kind of, this question answer is torture for her. Oh my God, you know, another 15 minutes here.
And when I mention this is because there are many young Japanese.
At that time, Japanese government, you know, asked me to join, you know, I can help her.
Who are willing to participate in peace building activities. You know, a lot of young Japanese actually want to take part in peace building activities, but the chances are still very limited, or Japanese youngsters still feel that the chances are very limited. So I think Japan can address more in this aspect. With regard to your second point, so the rivalry issue, the broader role of the rivalry and Japan's policy towards Africa. Yes, definitely. I think Japan is conscious of, again, China's growing commitment or increasing commitment towards Africa. However, currently, I don't think there is a there is a competing nature or rivalry nature, but I don't think there are actual, I'm not sure if problems or issues are the right terms, but on the ground, I don't think those things are occurring yet. So I think still the Japanese policies are based on Japan's genuine interests and how Japan should contribute to the international arena. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, my name is Sophie. Today I'm a journalist from African Television. I come to assist to this conference because it was about Africa and Japan. So first of all, I'm surprised not to see enough African in the whole. Because when we speak about Africa, we have head of quarter of Africa here, the embassy. As a journalist, I come here to cover the story about the African-Japan's policy. I'm going to take only two examples. In Africa, we have war going on with the Boko Haram. And I'm myself from Cameroon, so we're affected. I don't know how far Japan is involved in this issue by solving or by helping to solve the problem, because I did a lot of research. I don't really see too much Japanese team involved in Boko Haram stuff in Cameroon. I just come back from Nigeria, Cameroon. And secondly, I would be curious to learn exactly what this program African Japan policy have to offer to our country, our covered people in Africa.
That sounds a question.
Thank you very much. Could you please kindly clarify your second point?
I was saying, when I see the Japan-African policy, I want to be curious because I have a story to write. What exactly this program offers, what you guys can offer? The Japan-African policy, what is involved in that?
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your questions. So the first point is Japan directly involved in issues related to Boko Haram and other security issues in West Africa. As far as I'm concerned, Japan doesn't have direct projects right now that is related to Boko Haram. However, I think Japan does. Japan is promoting projects that of developing security within Nigeria, I think. So this is, and also I think so because Japan has regulations, limitations on the military contributions that it can provide. It isn't providing direct support to counter terrorism issues. However, Japan is focused on how to avoid or prevent people from becoming part of such groups. So, for example, providing vocational training or some kind of training that may relate to people without jobs, to gaining jobs, or to better step up in their career. So this is the kind of, it's not a direct effort, but the efforts that will prevent such issues and such problems from getting worse. So the second point that you raised, so what is Japan actually going to provide through its policy towards Africa? So the main pillar for Japan's policy towards Africa in the past has been official development assistance. This has definitely been one of the main pillars. So what does Japan provide through this? Well, Japan provides loans, grants, and capacity building training. Currently Japan is contributing to PKO missions in South Sudan and also towards anti-piracy missions. So I think Japan's role in contributing to more direct peace building issues will increase in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. May I ask what type of grant you guys give to help? Is that grant for war, grant for people working against the war? What type of grant? You just speak about grants.
Okay, grant
about what?
So, if I was to give an example of what Japan does under grant, it would be mainly providing small-scale infrastructure or small-scale construction projects. So, for example, a more larger-scale construction project would fall under loans. So, for example, large-scale bridges or highway roads or large-scale railways. So this would fall under loans. And why it falls under loans? Well, Japan thinks that by giving loans, it enhances the motivation for African countries to, in order to pay the loans, they will make more effort or in order to develop. And so that's why, so this is the difference between loans and grants.
Okay. Grant is small scale.
I'm asking too many questions. On Yuki's Tatsumi's point about governance inequality, I mean, some NGOs are trying to go directly to the communities and bypass the government. But if you do that, you in effect nullify the political motivation, which might be to get the government to support you in the UN, for example. So it's a common dilemma. But the other topic I want to raise is we haven't talked at all about the U.S. as another outside actor. I couldn't help but notice that the formation of TCAD coincided with Bill Clinton's first year in office, right after the failure of the Structural Impediments Initiative. Trade was a huge tension, and the Clinton administration had also signaled they wanted to do more in Africa. So that might have been a positive motive. There's nothing wrong with that. But in the more recent times, I participated occasionally in conferences about better coordination between the U.S. and Japan in aid in Southeast Asia and elsewhere. And of course, it's almost impossible because our own aid programs, as Americans here will confirm, is just riddled with micromanagement and congressional interference and all kinds of stuff. Japan would not want to be part of that by a long time. In the field, I think there is some de facto coordination and a certain amount of lower level dialogue, depending on the country. The UN, UNICEF or UNHCR sometimes tries to coordinate not just the US and Japan, but other activities here. I still think there could be a lot more sort of complementary projects. You mentioned follow-up, for example, in our typical aid conference. Some of them are really short term, like 6 months or 1 year, and the US people pull out. But if that's the kind of coordination that we may be able to pursue. And I just wondered what you thought of the US as a player in this discussion.
Thank you very much. The US certainly is a very important factor. And Japan is continually very, I'm not sure if concerned is the right word, but Japan is very focused on following what the US's policy is in Africa. So the US policy, I think, has to some extent effect on Japan's policy towards Africa. And the level of collaboration that is being carried out now, I think especially in the capacity building projects, I think there are field level cooperation that is being carried out. And currently, I think, especially for post-conflict states or unstable states, to have very many donors or to have a large number of donors is that itself takes a lot of effort to manage for receiving countries. So efforts to sort of minimize that kind of management problem for the receiving side, I think, is currently one of the discussions that is being carried out at the moment. Thank you.
Exhausted.
Thank you very much. You certainly
So exhausted.
many wide questions from different corners. And I very much like to thank you for helping her, furthering her thinking, as she worked toward the finish her paper in a couple of months, I hope. And then
Okay, by the way, how do you think about this her question and answer and her presentation? Because of this, okay, I decided to, we're going to start Unno News Network. So we're going to speak our opinion to the world using YouTube. Otherwise, global people misunderstand us, right?
It's shameful.
Yeah, so it's very shameful, right? Kimoto, do you say something? Are you here?
マイク入ってない。
Okay, my conference. Unno-san.
Yeah, go ahead.
Africa has a Africa Union, and Japan government should have a good relation with Africa Union because Africa has many countries, about over 50 countries. Therefore, the Japan government has a good relation not only each countries but also Africa Union.
So
this is my opinion.
So no, I don't clearly understand Africa Union. So what do you mean Africa Union? What do you want to say?
Because Africa has many countries, over 50 countries.
Yeah.
Japan government has a limited budget. Therefore, if Japan government invest each country, Japan government could not support the many budget. Therefore, Japan has a good relation with the Africa Union, rest to the Africa Union. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so. And Japan need to study more about Africa. And 54 countries, they have diversified, okay? But different. Some country advanced developed country and some country underdeveloped country. And some country authoritarian, some country democracy. So Japan need to consider country by country, and they're going to need to decide what kind of, their requirement do they have, and they prioritize. So I think they're going to ask them to listen up of their request, but also not only that, Japanese government need to they themselves prioritize what kind of issue to deliver to Africa. Okay, first issue is, for example, if I'm going to give them message, okay, we'll give you education or training, and next 10 years or 10 university, and okay, just also the skill training schools, and also we're going to prepare for the Japanese culture training or spiritual training. And what we are is sort of training. It means not only sumo and kabuki, but what I'm trying to say is how Japanese thinking about our, let's say, training for Japanese, or okay, simply saying Japanese kind of wisdom training. Okay, it's similar to Confucius, or sort of training we can deliver to African people, gives them dream, gives them future and prospect, and so forth. Sort of training we're going to give them. It's the most important, but also we need to give them how to control the birth control training. It means birth control is very important for how to save them from poverty. Okay, how they're going to try to encourage for the increase GDP, but also birth rate is higher. It eliminates GDP growth rate. It's currently the African problem is kind of confronted with. And furthermore, also, she said, diversified industry, Japanese, we're going to support. No, diversified industry. We just need to more focus on like China. China focus on agriculture. And Japanese agriculture technology, very advanced. So we're going to give them technology training, agriculture, more advanced technology area. We're going to deliver for them. Or maybe more broader range, like China is very concerned about 4G, for telephone, handy phone technology to spread to Africa. But Japan also, we have very advanced technology, AI and robots, kind of technology we can deliver for them. This is, I think, good for Africa. So we need to more carefully consider what the African people, what is the shortage of African countries people. And not only, okay, we can easy to say, how to consider for poverty, how to consider for we can deliver quality, technology, so forth. But this is just sufficient. We need a more concrete, idea, concrete strategy we need to deliver for them. One good example is China, okay, just propose them to implement highway rail. African government accepted China's loan and China's offer, but some cases African country never consider for their national budget for next 10 years. And if okay, they're going to invest 500 million or $1 billion investment for this country, does they sustain their budget for next 10 years? And so sort of a national financial planning is some country cannot make it. So Japanese government or Japanese can offer for them to how to build their strategic goal and finance limit or sort of things we can deliver for them.